Welcome. This is our second lunch poems, which makes it a series now. When James and I first talked about lunch poems, we said, it'll be great, it'll be a series. And then we had one, which is fine, because you have to start with one. And we said, hopefully this can become a series. So welcome to the official series, right? Because there's two of them now. I wanted to start out, I wanted to thank James Thomson from the MFA Poetry Program for partnering with Alkek Library on this series. We could not do it without his involvement. And the MFA poetry students who are going to read a little bit later today. I'll speak for the whole library, we love this opportunity to give these poets and all poets at Texas State University a stage to read their poetry. Imagine this is a stage. And that said, if you could take a minute to silence your cell phones, you don't want that to go off at the most dramatic moment of somebody's poem, and then everybody, you know. So, Lunch Poems is intended to bring together the poetry community here at Texas State University, but also San Marcos at large. So it's open to the public. Anybody who can find a parking spot or walk up the stairs or take the ramp up the stairs is welcome here. The instant payoff is right here, is being able to sit here and listen to poetry over lunch for an hour. The less obvious payoff, and so I want to highlight it for you as your humanities librarian at Alkek, is that Alkek has a wonderful poetry collection, and it's sort of hidden on the 6th floor. And so I wanted to let you know that through this event, one of my goals is to showcase our poetry collection, whether it be print books, whether it be ebooks, databases, streaming films, DVDs. I work hard in my office to bring a poetry collection to you, and you wouldn't know it walking in the first, when you walk in on the 2nd floor. So one of the things that this event does is it allows us to drag out our new poetry books and sort of find a good home for them over the weekend if you want to take them home and read them. And so those are all available on the back table. I pulled a selection of poetry books that we've ordered from the last 2 years, and I hope that they go home to a good home. You can check them out at the circulation desk with your ID card. If you're prone to library fines, such as myself, you don't have to tell anybody, but if you're prone to accruing library fines, we have ebooks, which don't accrue library fines. They just disappear whenever the due date comes up. And so we have a sign in the back showing some of the ebooks that we have, some of the recent ebooks and poetry that we have. If you need any help finding ebooks or how to download them or check them out, I can help you, and we also have the research and information desk and the circulation desk that can help with that. So, most importantly, please enjoy the poetry. If I don't remember to mention it at the end, we have banned books reading temporary tattoos, which do a really great job staying on your arm. This has been a couple of days now. So help yourself to a temporary tattoo before you leave also. And I'm going to introduce James Thomson to say a few words before we begin. And the sheet is up here, so after you read, you can just take a look down and introduce the next poet. And that'll make it where everybody knows who's up next. So thank you, and this is James Thomson coming up now.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Liz, and thank you, Liz. And thank you, Alkek, and everyone who has helped Liz along the way, beginning last winter and continuing to infinity at this point in time. So it's been a lot of fun, and honestly, Liz has given me way too much credit. I've answered several emails and have been a few places in person up until this point. So really could not be done without the help of Alkek and their love of poetry and the way that it's obviously already spreading across campus. I'm no longer inaugurating this event. Like you said, this is a series now. And so, as with any series, I was like, it's called Lunch Poems. The most important meal of the day is breakfast, right? So how am I supposed to sell this? And I think any of us who work or don't work even look forward to that lunch break in the day, right? So I think poetry, if nothing else, is a break in our day, in our life, in the clutter of everything. And I really appreciate all of you coming here already and continually, I'm sure, to help us take a break and enjoy what we each have to offer. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Alkek. Thank you, Liz, and everyone who's helped out. So without further ado, Tricia, come on up.
Hi, I'm Tricia Boucher, one of the librarians here at Alkek. Also, I read banned books. So in honor of Banned Books Week, I am reading my first poem. Is a poem by an author of books that have been banned. Her name is Ellen Hopkins. She's a young adult author who wrote Glass and Crank, which are based on her daughter's past addiction to meth. And the poem is called Manifesto. To you zealots and bigots and false patriots who live in fear of discourse, you screamers and banners and burners who would force books off shelves in your brand name of greater good. You say you're afraid for children, innocence ripe for corruption by perversion or sorcery on the page. But sticks and stones do break bones, and ignorance is no armor. You do not speak for me, and will not deny my kids' magic in favor of miracles. You say you're afraid for America, the red, white, and blue corroded by terrorists, socialists, the sexually confused. But we are a vast quilt of patchwork cultures and multi-gendered identities. You cannot speak for those whose ancestors braved different seas. You say you're afraid for God, the living word eroded by Muhammad and Darwin and Magdalene, but the omnipotent sculptor of heaven and earth designed intelligence. Surely you dare not speak for the Father who opens his arms to all. A word to the unwise. Torch every book, char every page, burn every word to ash. Ideas are incombustible, and therein lies your real fear. So, the second poem that I'm reading, I'm moving from pure anger to love. Yesterday during the Banned Books readout, I read from the Vagina Monologues, and that inspired me to choose this poem. It is a poem in a larger book that uses conventions from contemporaneous, if I'm using that word right, Egyptian love poetry. It's really metaphorically graphic, and people are often wondering why it's in this book, and people don't want it in the book, but some cultures actually agree that it is a wisdom writing. And current scholars, just to give you an idea of the graphic metaphors, current scholars actually consider the use of the word bolt in this poem to mean, colloquially mean at that time, clitoris. So I read to you from the Song of Solomon, or the Song of Songs, chapter 4, verse 9 through chapter 5, verse 6. You have ravished my heart, my sister, my bride. You have ravished my heart with a glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How sweet is your love, my sister, my bride. How much better is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your oils than any spice. Your lips distill nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. The scent of your garments is like the scent of Lebanon. A garden locked is my sister, my bride. A garden locked, a fountain sealed. Your channel is an orchard of pomegranates with all choicest fruits, henna with nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with all trees of frankincense, myrrh, and aloes, with all chief spices, a garden fountain, a well of living water, and flowing streams from Lebanon. Awake, O north wind, and come, O south wind, blow upon my garden, that its fragrance may be wafted abroad. Let my beloved come to his garden and eat its choicest fruits. I come to my garden, my sister, my bride. I gather my myrrh with my spice. I eat my honeycomb with my honey. I drink my wine with my milk. Eat, friends, drink, and be drunk with love. I slept, but my heart was awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one. For my head is wet with dew, and my locks with the drops of the night. I had put off my garment. How could I put it on again? I had bathed my feet. How could I soil them? My beloved thrust his hand into the opening, and my inmost being yearned for him. I arose to open to my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with liquid myrrh upon the handles of the bolt. I opened to my beloved, but my beloved turned and was gone. My soul failed me when he spoke. I sought him, but did not find him. I called him, but he gave no answer. So next up is Carol Alvarez. Thank you.
Hi everyone. How's everyone doing this afternoon?
Good.
So this is a poem I've written. It's loosely based off of maybe I pronounce it correctly. Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Louder. All right. So basically, it's just choosing 6 words and having those words repeat themselves at the end of 6 stanzas, and the last 7 songs that regroup them all together. Just a little quick background. All right. Stardust in us. Everything has been kept tidy inside, and I wish to shatter. To allow the vestiges of the sky peek in through starlight. It caresses upon the broken, molding them into stained glass. Nothing stays static in our world as we watch meteors fall into our crackling souls that burn everything ardently except the snowflakes, whose imprints carry the delicate feet of sparrows. These tiny little creatures hold themselves with pride when called sparrows. To many they seem as plain and bare creature that 80 could shatter. They dance defiantly and joyfully in full understanding that their uniqueness are like snowflakes. Willingly, they mix and pull apart their feathers to help make ink reach paper and pour starlight into the lives of those who don't even know of the existence of meteors, to make others aware of the truth that is stained glass. It is believed that scars mean unlovable, but it is not true for stained glass. It does not mar the perfection of your soul, for it holds the same resilience as that of a sparrow. What was once whole and cohesive is made anew by the meteor. Let your fear fall away, my love. Let it shatter. Do not forget that you are not alone. Follow the starlight as we keep our fingers intertwined and dance among the snowflakes. Do you fear what I fear? That our time will be fleeting as that of snowflakes. While I find a sense of pride in my scars, I fear your reaction to my figure of stained glass. Will you want to carry on this path together, or will you turn away from me and the starlight? Do you fear that I might react badly to what you may show me and reject the sparrow you hold? Please know that while I am as confused as you are, I shall not make you shatter. Paths make me stumble, but your hands bring me comfort as we explore the fallen meteor. We can hear the booming of great voices and the whispers of profound truth that in the meteor. I would have thought that the sizzling pop of the fallen star would have melted the snowflakes. We revel in our delight to be proven otherwise, that it thrives in coexistence and will not shatter. Faint twinkling come inside us. Look at our hands as they create a melody of stained glass. The weight of a gentle creation bears down upon our actions, as if we are holding a sparrow, but it believes in us as it does its best to sing the resonating song of starlight. I want to listen to its symphony with you, as we are both cradled by the starlight. I shall not make the promise that all our time together will be filled exploring a meteor. There will come times in which our intent and tension will be upon each other's sparrows, but I trust you. I believe your eyes, hands, and mouth will be as gentle as a kiss from snowflakes. I know you trust me as well when you lean into my touch as I trace your stained glass. I always thought that loving someone meant being whole with them. In reality, it is to shatter. We hold within us the gentle twinkling of the starlight snowflakes. The resonance never fades from the meteor made up of stained glass. We twirl and dance together along with sparrows, and together we shatter. I would like to introduce Stephanie Towery for their next reading.
Hello, everybody. My husband used to have a lounge act in Austin, and he had this clown character called Uncle Cuddles. And Uncle Cuddles was a German clown from Argentina who had Nazi origins. And he was a very naughty clown and did a lot of really blue jokes. But one of the parts of the act would be he'd do a spoken word kind of poem with his friend Sean playing the stand-up bass. So this poem was originally, he originally did it April 12, 2004, and it's called Texas. The moon burns bright on the western night where an Austrian clown sneaks down the bank, slipping across the Rio Grande to the land of the free and the new home of me. Me being the one whose back is wet with sand in my big shoes, squish-squashing under a sky the color of a bruise as I straggle through tumbleweeds towards the lights ahead, a border town I find. My mind a turning colored wheel because the only thing I could find to eat out in the deep dark desert were some little cactus buttons that were kind of bitter. So bitter that they made me throw up, spewing verde fountains of purest light right into the diamond stars above. Man, I must be tired, 'cause things are looking funny. And the colors are kind of runny, and my fingers smell like honey. Or is that poop I smell? I can't really tell the difference right now. Man, it is a fucked up clown that wanders into town, people laughing at the flecks of green vomit on my sandy suit. My feet grow purple roots as they look into my eyes and tell me I have to give some dude some money for something. Pay OT, they laugh, pay OT. I try and ask who the fuck OT is, but all that comes out of my pie hole are some red and blue butterflies and the scent of bitter cactus. So far, Texas is a lot different from Germany. I keep hearing this crazy music in my head because there is a mariachi band about 10 feet away playing mariachi music, which I keep hearing in my head because they are only 10 feet away. And this brown puta is whispering in my ear wet Spanish suggestions, which I can't understand because she speaks sign language too, because her hand is down my pants, which I understand just fine, because they speak that in Germany too. Her smile is full of erotic razor blades, which shave me to shivers. Foolish endearments pour from my mouth like colored puffs of smoke, and she laughs flower petals on my clown face. And she says, Señor Payeso, es esta noche su muerte, and I know what she means. And someone is crying because Papi is dead, and I cry for him too, happy and sad at the same time, for he was my Papi too, and now my puta has a skull face. Fuck. My trip is going south, south of the border of reason. A bunch of psychedelic Indians just rode into my mind town on the warpath, and they sneak up on the sentries whispering, Uncle Custer, Uncle Custer. What the fuck does that mean? Uncle Custer. Hey, look here, you redskin buster. Don't be making no rain dances on my trip down Texas tourist time with your bad trip Injun ways. Go back to the reservation, eat some government cheese, and shut the fuck up. Hit the liquor store and dream your crazy firewater dreams someplace else besides my head. You Native American hallucinations. I didn't steal your land or smother your culture. Shit, I just got here, bitch. I still got the smell of the river on my suit and puta on my finger. Don't linger around here with your mind trip treaty. Go scalp some other clown, please. I am in Texas, where the pussy grows on trees, or at least under bushes. And the bud is stinky, and clowns are free to drink cold beer without fear. I can be anything here. Roll 7 after 7. I must have died when I crossed that river, for surely Texas is heaven. Texas is heaven. Texas is heaven. I would like to introduce Terrica Lewis.
Hi. I decided to do this because I had a question in English class and there's about 100 students And as soon as I raised my hand, the teacher called on me, and everybody stared at me. I sank in my chair, and my ears got red, and I got really, really, a lot of anxiety. So I thought I should probably do something to try to get over that fear of people staring at me. So this is bold for me. I've never done this before, but this is a poem that I wrote, but it's nameless. I wrote it sometimes when I'm walking around at home. I'll think of a line, and then I'll think of another line, and I'll just go write stuff down and keep going. So here I go. All praise to that which is formless. You can't put a name to something so enormous. It's outside of our lingo. So many people and so many minds, but at the end of the day, there's only one that's divine, and it connects us all. All praise to that which is shapeless. I don't have to open my eyes or ears to recognize greatness. It is within me. It is without me. It is, and I am. And it did, so I can, and I will. Because it has been willed. When life feels ugly, I stand still. I ask, believe, then receive my new thrill. I keep the same cards, but I demand a new deal. Because God lives vicariously through me, then reinvents me to myself every day through you. So if I'm not the change, then who? No longer can we ask the who, what, and why. All praise to that which is greater than I. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Next is Ryan Stennett.
Hi everybody. That's a tough act to follow. I'm so impressed that you did that. Okay, this poem is by a writer named Matthew Zapruder, and he just wrote a book called Why Poetry. So if you ask yourself that question, try and find that book. I think he has some really good answers, some ideas about that. This is called Poem for Grace Paley. People say they don't understand poetry, meaning how must we proceed? Be extremely tempered, dream a careful dream. People say we're living a quiet life, lost in a forest of pronouns, asleep for 1,000 years. People said his wife passed through him, an arrow made of smoke. People say whatever you do, don't hitch a ride on a sepulcher. People said it was the future then, and we liked falling into mirrors. People said we were never sorry we couldn't travel both and be one traveler. People said, what was it like? It was like an airport terminal without any televisions. Like waiting a long time for a door to arrive. In Outlaw Josie Wales, Chief Dan George says that rock candy's not for eating, it's for looking through. In 1981, an announcer said Ralph Sampson's so tall he could reach out and touch Uranus. I was 13. Earth was a couch. Without any irritable reaching after fact or reason, I placed thousands of sweet tarts into my mouth. 5 years later, someone said they saw Diane P. kissing a girl in a car, and they punched the window on the passenger side in, and I laughed. And it's all been, as people say, downhill from there. Meaning, until this moment, I have been coasting. But from this one forward, Grace, I vow I shall coast no more. Let's see, I have a few more, but I have to choose. It's hard. This is a poem by Wendell Berry, and there's an event in the English department coming soon where they're going to show a screening of a film about his life. He's a really amazing poet and farmer. I don't think there's too many of those out there. So this is called Manifesto the Mad Farmer Liberation Front. Love the quick profit, the annual raise, vacation with pay. Want more of everything ready-made. Be afraid to know your neighbors and to die. And you will have a window in your head. Not even your future will be a mystery anymore. Your mind will be punched in a card and shut away in a little drawer. When they want you to buy something, they will call you. When they want you to die for profit, they will let you know. So, friends, every day do something that won't compute. Love the Lord. Love the world. Work for nothing. Take all that you have and be poor. Love someone who does not deserve it. Denounce the government and embrace the flag. Hope to live in that free republic for which it stands. Give your approval to all you cannot understand. Praise ignorance, for what man has not encountered, he has not destroyed. Ask the questions that have no answers. Invest in the millennium. Plant sequoias. Say that your main crop is the forest that you did not plant, that you will not live to harvest. Say that the leaves are harvested when they have rotted into the mold. Call that prophet. Prophecy such returns. Put your faith in the 2 inches of hummus that will build under the trees every 1,000 years. Listen to carrion. Put your ear close and hear the faint chattering of the songs that are to come. Expect the end of the world. Laugh. Laughter is immeasurable. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts. So long as women do not go cheap for power, please women more than men. Ask yourself, will this satisfy a woman satisfied to bear a child? Will this disturb the sleep of a woman near to giving birth? Go with your love to the fields. Lie easy in the shade. Rest your head in her lap. Swear allegiance to what is nighest your thoughts. As soon as the generals and the politicos can predict the motions of your mind, lose it. Leave it as a sign to mark the false trail, the way you didn't go. Be like the fox who makes more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Practice resurrection. Next up, we have another second-year poet in the MFA program, my friend and colleague, Mr. Wade Martin.
It's all tough acts to follow today. So I thought I would start off reading a poem from the Rattle Young Poets Anthology. Rattle is a journal. You can give a subscription. And every year they publish 4 versions of this, and once a year they come out with a youth anthology, poets 18 and younger. So this is a poem out of that collection called Cuernavaca, Mexico by Faith Gomez. Here I am in the photo, pigtails tied with mini silk pink pom-poms, left hand on chin, shoes like pink roses, my dress with a big pink bow tied as if I were a present. My brother Jacob wearing his first fancy pants. Behind him, my mother in her white dress on her wedding day, her smile as big as an upside-down rainbow, full of color and joy. Next to her is my dad, the 2 of them like turtle doves. 3 years later, I imagine him still as a marble statue, still in Mexico, waiting for permission to return, waiting alone like an abandoned house without us. And she was 10 when she wrote that. Wow. Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot more really good stuff in that. So if nothing else, I strongly recommend you check out the Youth Anthology. It's amazing every year. Along a similar line, I thought I would pay homage to Frank O'Hara, creator of the little book known as Lunch Poems, and by reading this called Autobiographia Literaria. When I was a child, I played by myself in a corner of the schoolyard all alone. I hated dolls and I hated games. Animals were not friendly and birds flew away. If anyone was looking for me, I hid behind a tree and cried out, I am an orphan. And here I am, the center of all beauty, writing these poems. Imagine. And then I'll end with this short one that sort of reflects the weather we're having these days. Charles Reznikoff was an Imagist poet. and he wrote some weird stuff. I suggest you check it out. There's a relationship between poetry and fog. Carl Sandburg, Wendell Berry as well, W.S. Merwin, and it gets written about more often than you might think. It doesn't often get called a lot of attention to, but this is a short 2-line poem about fog. So it's from he didn't title his poems at all, ever, never. He had titles for the collections of his poems, though, and so this is from a 5th group of verse, number 8. From the fog, a gull flies slowly and is lost in fog. The buildings are only clouds. I'll read that one again. From the fog, a gull flies slowly and is lost in fog. The buildings are only clouds. And that's it for me. Is Emily here? No. So, next up is 3rd year MFA poetry student Jason Duncan.
Made it just in time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had 2 hours of sleep last night. So. All right. Well, as Wade said, I'm in my 3rd year, final semester actually, of the MFA program. I brought like 5 poems, but I don't think we're going to have time for that. So, just to give a brief introduction to what I'm about to read, I grew up in a little town called Orange, Texas. Has anybody ever heard of it? That is very surprising. And it is just a little swamp town. And pretty much everything I write takes place there. So that should give you the sort of backdrop for all of these. Some of these poems are actually part of a longer sequence. They have footnotes, but I'm not going to bother with those today. So I'll start out with Refugium. And a refugium is a safe place in nature, to shorten the footnote, basically. Insects impaled on pins, a collection. A case sealed against dust and decay. Cicada, no longer straining with our song. Moth wings unsinged by desperate dances with lights. They sleep the sleep of emeralds. Sculptorless works of instincts and perfections. Mandibles latched to prayless air, barbed legs and rictus, contorted eternally as if to a breeze-stiffened stem. There's safety in death. This is not the falling star blink of these animals' lives. These are not mosquito nymphs thrashing to life in a rain-filled ditch. This is preservation. A heart speared silver to the floor of the world. When the power failed, unpaid, past due, the shapes of home grew strange. The ragged couch and shadows perched like a starving animal. The broken duct-tape window, portaled stars, frightening in their impossible distances. Carpet stains shivered. Even the air perspired. These nights, my mother kneeled over the bed my brother and I shared, dabbing sweat from our brows with a wet rag. Water rank with rust from aging pipes, a sound of wrung rain filling a bucket, the labored breath of a woman struggling to inhale the humid air. Let no love come to this. A pale hand moving slowly through the night, knuckles cracked from the rhythm of succor. Let no love come to this. Frail fingers striving in vain to dispel a burning season. I figured I'd start with a happy one. Right? That's a good opener. This next one's called Armature. And an armature is basically the frame that they put inside statues to give it that shape, and then they put the center around it, kind of. Armature. The scent of bourbon clung to my father's breath as he sat in the living room's draped shaded dark. My mother had packed his things, invoking that most final gesture of separation. After hours of staring in silence from his recliner, he rose and in a stir of rage and fear, suddenly pulled my brother and me into the cab of his truck. We drove all day down the empty downtown streets until he parked near an old church. Its stained glass and columns renowned for their craftsmanship. He told us in slurred speech from the driver's seat that he had built it. His hands were hardened from years of construction, each day collecting new scars and another layer of callus from pouring concrete or arranging a grid of rebar. Even as a child, I knew that his labor was not artistry. But I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that when he vanished for days after being paid, he was slipping away to craft something incredible and admired. When the sun fell, we drove home to my mother's anger. In the other room, beneath her shouting, I could hear his sobs, their tone sharp, like a chisel striking over and over again at a block of quarried marble, as would an apprentice striving in vain to liberate those graceful shapes believed hidden within a slab of rough-hewn rock. That night, I learned a secret mineral longing, the desire to emerge smooth from shattered edges, beautiful, beloved, and blameless as stone. I consider this one a little more upbeat. I mean, at least relatively. Not that that's like terribly difficult. But this one's called Floating Island, and it's written for my younger brother. He's in the Air Force now. So I had to email this to him to remind him that, hey, I'm still your older brother. So yeah, Floating Island. And what Floating Island is actually a term. It's when, especially like in the backwaters of Louisiana, a branch or something sticks in the mud, and then things as they pass collect and kind of just make an island out of all this debris. So that's what that is. So, Floating Island. Beneath the river, moon-swayed grains of vagrant earth, of time-shattered churches, of rain-rattled dust, cling to the skin of a sunken log. If there can be a home for the mineral forgotten, this is home for now. A fresh, nameless shore rising, tannin anointed from the water, the rank wood of a rotting tree, straining upright like a human spine. Just as bones or gathered stone land will wash away, as will the bodies that never set foot. Did I show you love, brother, when you walked into the water up to your bright red curls? Dad was in the woods getting high, so I made a game for us on the bank, pitching stones at the island. We were both younger than kids. I stooped to find the rock that would finally stake my claim, and when I turned my back for a moment, I thought you a stone, thrown short, a splash that lingered. But when the ripples bubbled, I knew. Brother, what did you see in the space that separates breath from dying? Was our island held floating atop a river-rooted field of lilies, some secret you swore not to tell? Were there shadow cypress in verse, speared solid to the bottom? No. I've always known the answer. An unending, flowing darkness, disturbed only by the breath escaping your lips when you struggled to scream. When I pulled you up, I wished that I could do it again and again. I still wish this for you, that I could have hoisted you higher from the lives we both drowned in, and dry you with a soft cloth, and point up at the light that had always been there, always just above another and another and another surface. So I think that's my time. And next up is the wonderfully talented Callie Wofford.
Hi guys, so I'm a third-year poet, and I'm going to read a couple of my own original pieces because I've been feeling like these days, just everything that's going on, a little silenced by the news and media and just, life in general. So these are going to be some of my works. The first one is called The Universe is a Stripper. 1. I highlight the best bits of my body with glitter. Elbow, eyelid, ankle, like a fleshy play school art. Star-shaped pasties cover my nipples, and this body is now a galaxy, a fucking cosmos, swirling around on a darkened stage. I am controlled chaos. Believe me, there is structure to my madness, nothing accidental, every movement choreographed, plotted, mapped. 2. I call myself Stellar, or Star, or Cesspool. He wants to name me after a child's snack food, calling me something edible, imagining what this body would taste like in his mouth. Stout, sharp, salty. Would I dissolve, vanish on his tongue? He watches me with telescopic eyes, but he'll never understand what it feels like to be infinite. I flex, stretch these limbs, contorting my body to a rhythm all my own. He can only hear silence, and begins charting my mood swings, following the swaying of my hips. He thinks I can predict his future. He takes pictures of my fingertips, shows them to his friends, frames them, believing the ridges of my prints prove he matters. I haven't a heart to tell him that he understands. He's proved nothing. Alright. And my next poem is pretty raunchy. It's a little erotic, so if you're easily embarrassed, just wait. It's called Sunday Mornings in His Bed. Rediscovering the tether of two hands, small and large, worshiping knees to ground, hands to breasts, mouth open. The shattering of stained glass with this tongue takes time, and this body work makes him shy. So we'll start small. Earlobe, knuckle, clavicle. I'll show him how to harness electricity from our fingertips, and he'll list all the ways he could hold me. Make me see through, like the rocks glass he caresses, smudges with his hands. Turn me into cigarette ash that clings to his clothing. And my last one's a little darker. I just wanted to end on a high note for you guys, obviously. Alright. It's called Father, so you know it's going to be good. Father. 1. When he discovered fire, he burned down our home, made me into a monster. I was his first attempt at wholeness, shown the world through the windowless rooms and rat-poison fog. Learned to live off the blood from my own open wounds. 2. Abandoned, deemed unholy, created in darkness out of the dark bits of soul, meat, and mold. Now no one knows how to love me in light. Alone, I spent hours sharpening my teeth on baby pictures, whispering the only 2 words I ever knew: creation, cremation. 3. The blossoming of corpse flower inside my chest helped me embrace the slow burning of flesh, the itch of fingers to clasp throats. Once in my solitude, I dreamt of scooping out his eyes that are like mine, removing his tongue and dipping it in ink, letting all the lies scribble across page after page. 4. I listen to the breaking of kneecaps and noses before bed each night and find comfort in splintered bone. Alright. And now I'm supposed to introduce Tanner.
I wasn't on the schedule, but I showed up, and Liz is super nice, so she always lets me perform. I'm not a poetry student. I'm actually a business student, but because my parents wouldn't pay for an art degree. But I do like poetry, and I think it's kind of fun sometimes because I think it is kind of deep, because I'm an egotistical person. Anyways, a couple years ago, I realized I was going to die. All kids do eventually. I realized I was going to die, and I wasn't okay with it. And I wrote this, and it helped me be okay with it a little more. It's called The Fear of Thought. God created man, man created plot. They couldn't understand, this became a thought. To understand the structure of a story, its beginning, the middle, its end. God made the mind, power past perception, always thinking deeper, easy to pretend. To imagine for once what is after one's existence, maybe once or twice, but with constant insistence. Every character or clock, counting down their numbers, fighting for salvation, secret slits and stumblers. Looking through the options, searching for the reasons, to care or watch or wonder, passing through the seasons. Each deep thinker comes and goes, we grow deeper and darker, thinking of the inevitable, it then becomes harder. To understand that there's consciousness, and understanding there's an after, the more one would think, the less that there is laughter. With all of this in mind, we begin to fear the thought, trying every day to forget the gift that God brought. I recently wrote this poem about a certain someone that was in my life and no longer is in my life, and has caused me to have quite a few sleepless nights. So this one is called Trouble in Time. It's about 1:33 when these thoughts are coming to me, more so than the cocktail of negative nonsense that has since plagued my state of being as of late. This for sure must be worse. I worried of the end and all its implications, of it all falling down around my vulnerable parts grown soft in the mid of your stay. You say that there's a soft spot too inside you, that you can't seem to harden and herald away like you have with the most of the rest. However, you also confess to the mess that you've made with someone who is, according to you, just as fit, fair, or formidable. But if you wanted me as much as I wanted you, you wouldn't be doing this. You say that the two competitors, so competent it's caused contempt within you, except you choose to exempt me and prevent me from most of the equations. You still agree to indulge me. See this horrendous abomination that is my current state, and at times the words that you say sew me back together, as if my heart was never touched. I get glimpses of cold-cuddled clutches that I was grasped in for hours, and how you had ripped the demons from my back and my chest could settle and sleep, and wake to find that it all wasn't just a wonderful dream, but now it seems that this all could be true. But if you wanted me half as much as I wanted you, you wouldn't be doing this. Time is the question, and it's all that you ask, but you leave me alone, been given this task. But only a mind such as one of mine would wander so aimlessly into the darker drenches of dread, instead of waiting for your move, await your saunter towards a sort of sustainable solution. I only pray that the revelation you wait for gives you the answers and truth that could find me and soothe my sore mind. But if you wanted me at all, you wouldn't be doing this. I don't have any other new ones that I want to perform, so Liz is going to tie things up for us. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
So let's give all of our poets one more round of applause. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing both your original work and your feelings and your words, and also your favorite poets by other poets. We really appreciate that. I was sitting in the back listening, so if you'll humor me for one moment. I was thinking about how it's probably clear if I'm organizing a poetry event that I'm an introvert, right? If I feel like I want people to come together and listen to poetry. If you've ever tried to throw a party as an introvert, you know that you have a lot of leftover beverages after, because all your friends text you at the last minute and they're like, I kind of didn't really want to come, and now that it's approaching, I'm kind of in my pajamas. Am I alone in this? Okay, so as the day comes up, you're like, why did I agree to that? I never like to see people. So just to give you a little bit of behind the scenes, when you try to host an event and you're an introvert and you're asking people to come read poetry, there's a good chance that they're introverts. So thank you for actually coming. I really appreciate that. And as long as you keep coming, we'll keep hosting. So we'll have it be a back and forth deal. The day that I sit here by myself will be the last one. So, and we won't live broadcast that one because that would be sad. So again, we have some poetry books in the back, so please feel free to check them out. You just use your ID card, take it up to the circ desk, and they'll check them out for you. I pulled some selections from the last 2 years that the library has ordered, so they're all current poetry. If you don't want to get library fines and you know you're going to lose them, there's a list of ebooks that we have available too. And then one last plug here. We just started a new series called Film Talks here on campus. And we're showing documentaries and films, and we're having discussions after the films. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can go to bit.ly Alkek Film Talks. And please come to our next one. It's on October 9th. It's downstairs in 105, 106. And it's called Embrace, and it's a documentary about the body positivity movement. And again, that fear of like, oh no, introverts. So please come out if that interests you. And I believe that's it. So thank you so much for everybody. Free tattoos in the back.